So howdy folks, welcome back to the Steampunk Desperado channel, Christmas edition.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, or at least Merry soon to be Christmas. And I'm Vaughn Trotti, and I am the Steampunk Desperado. This is my lovely wife Arliss, Mrs. Desperado.
Mrs. D.
And we love to talk about steampunk, that wonderful genre of science fiction that deals with historical eras like the wonderful Victorian era, but we also deal with the classics, and one of the classics is, of course, Charles Dickens'
Christmas Carol.
Yes, and that's a must-watch for the Christmas season. Definitely a cultural icon. Now, last episode, we went over our logic for doing this, and we went over our favorites. We watched 18 versions of Christmas Carol last Christmas. We went all the way into spring watching them. We had to order some. We got Netflix and Amazon and so on, and that was quite an interesting adventure. And so we went with it. We told you what the best ones were, what ones we really think you should watch. Now we're going to go over the ones that weren't quite so good. They might be funny to hate watch.
Yes, absolutely.
And they might be good if you want something that's really bad. Not all of these are terrible. Some are just a little bit bland, and others are overdone. So without further ado, we're going to go on this list. And some of these are some of the older ones, like some of the first ones, some of the first talkies that they did of Christmas Carol when they were adapting it to movies. And
there were a lot that we weren't able to see.
Yeah, there were a lot we didn't get to see, but we saw the ones that were most available on Netflix and Amazon. So that's for whatever that's worth. First one on our list today was Reginald Owen as Scrooge in 1938. Interestingly enough, it had Leo G. Carroll as Marley. If you remember that name from that wonderful song in Rocky Horror.
Yes.
Anyway, and that was an okay version, and it gets pretty good ratings on Amazon. It's a black and white, but we didn't really find it memorable. We really didn't remember anything about it, so that's something about that says something. Next one. Now here's one one of the last ones we watched.
This was the last one we watched, and I hate to have this in my memory. I may have to go back. I know. Yeah. I may have to go back and watch the 1951 Alistair Sims because it's stuck in my head.
Seared into her memory.
It is. So it is a made-for-TV from Hallmark with Kelsey Grammer.
From Cheers.
Cheers. I love
Frasier.
him. And
he's great.
And Jason Alexander.
Yep, from Seinfeld.
It's
2004. That's not a very steampunk thing to say, but that's true. It kind of did. It was fun though in some aspects. It was one of the few with completely colorblind casting. We had a black Christmas present ghost, and we had Tiny Tim. He looked kind of Asian. And it was, wonderful actor, little boy, but it was a little jarring. It was a little jarring. And a lot of great dance numbers. You didn't see that in too many of the others.
The Ghost of Christmas Present is usually a big chubby man, kind of very Santa Claus looking.
Yeah.
Well, this guy is
thin.
He's thin.
That was more jarring than being black. The fact that he was thin.
He's extremely handsome.
Yes.
And he's got a six-pack and
And this was the only one that adapted some of Dickens' words into the musical lyrics.
That's true, which was very clever because we hadn't seen it before. But the music was melodious and nothing really to write home about. The dance sequences were too long.
So we're going to try and move along a little bit faster because we've got 7 more to cover. So it was a horrible job, but somebody had to do it.
And the hat still isn't working.
Yeah. So and my tie keeps slipping down. But in 1954, they did one with starring Frederick March as Scrooge. The interesting part was that Basil Rathbone, remember from Sherlock Holmes, was Marley's ghost. It was a very rather short version and had original music, which was okay, but it was very melodramatic and silly. The Christmas Present sings a very long and goofy song, for example. 1935, Seymour Hicks, another one of these black and white versions. And you can find several colorized versions of this. I don't know why, because it's not a very good movie. And the Scrooge is rather shabby, and I don't think it'd be shabby because he has to go to the stock exchange. And you want to look good looking being at the stock exchange. Otherwise, people are going to think he's He's savvy financially.
Exactly.
And it was the only version they sing God Save the Queen in it, which is interesting. Here we go to the modern versions.
Okay.
And not counting Scrooged, which was a good modern version, the only good modern version. This one was from 2000, starred a British actor named Ross Kemp. And I guess he does military type movies. I wasn't familiar with him.
He needs to stay.
Yes, he needs to stay in that. It's very modernized. He's a loan shark called Eddie Scrooge, because I guess Ebenezer was too weird for nowadays. And the one interesting thing about it, besides changing everything, was the fact they did the Groundhog's Day type of trope in that Christmas kept repeating with each ghost. Yes. Well, that was interesting.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, that
until
was
he got it right.
Until he got it right, exactly. Next, though this one was awful. This one was absolutely awful. This one was a TV special from 1949, early days of television, which they call a golden age.
Yes.
Don't believe them. It wasn't a golden age necessarily.
And I'm very sad. It had Vincent Price, who is gorgeous man.
He was a narrator.
Amazing voice.
Yeah, and
he was the narrator, so he's not to be held accountable.
Yeah, he was
for
the
this.
one good bright spot in this show. The rest of it was like the acting was terrible, the casting was terrible, it was very short, and they left out a lot of stuff. I think it was like half an hour long, or a little bit more than that.
Speaking of short, The Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come is shorter in stature than Scrooge.
He's not scary. He's not scary at all.
Scrooge could have just throat punched him.
Yeah,
I mean, seriously. So I ask you to look it up only because you need to see The Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come do this.
Yes.
Okay, so it's absolutely hilarious.
He's pointing to the grave, but your mind goes other places.
That's true. It is just sad.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say awful. It was just sad. So
sad,
look it up.
Would say. Sad.
Laugh hysterically.
Yeah.
It's one that I actually rewatched about 5 times just to see him do that, and the fact that he's just so short.
Right. So okay, 2016. This one shows up a lot on Netflix and Amazon and so on. A guy named Colin Baker plays Scrooge. Never heard of him. And it looks kind of like an amateur theater company. And because we've been in an amateur theater, so we feel kind of sorry for these people. But it was really pretty bad. Very amateurish. We call it the attic version because it was like filmed in the attic of some pioneer town that somebody preserved somewhere. And so all the ghosts visit him in his office because they don't have enough money to adapt sets. Original music, boring.
Again, melodious.
It sounds, very melodious, but all the songs sound the same. So it didn't work for us at all. And now we're getting to the the last 2 are going to be really, really bad. Horrible. Just awful. And so we have 2018, very, very recent, Stuart Brennan. Not familiar with him again, but he's probably somebody, who knows. It's another modern version. It takes place in Scotland. And this one changes more than anything. He's not a moneylender. He's not in the financial business. He is a whiskey distiller. He's like one of these .net type. It's like an online whiskey custom distillery. It's the silliest thing. And they switched characters around. I mean, Tiny Tim, Cratchit's a woman, and Tiny Tim is her husband, and it's the weirdest thing ever.
And he has cancer.
The one good thing about it, and all this awful
Ginny
thing.
Weasley was in it.
Well, Ginny Weasley was in it. Yes,
she was the only good actress in
Weasley.
it. Yeah.
I forget her name, but she was good to see her again. But there were these 2 cool bakers, these 2 bearded guys.
Twins.
I would imagine
Hilarious.
they're some kind of comedy team from Scotland because they were awesome. They were hilarious, long beards, and they were very silly and very funny.
Very funny.
And they seemed like they came off of a spaceship somewhere.
Well,
yeah, probably
according
did.
to everybody else there.
Probably
but
did.
Watch it just for those 2. Fast forward.
Yeah.
Just
Right.
to those.
Fast forward to
those
that
2.
part. It's after the
funny.
ghosts visit Scrooge, and he's instead of going to the poulterer, he goes to a bakery to get all these sweets so he can give everybody diabetes. So, so anyway,
it's a gift that keeps on giving.
Right. And finally, I think that was Arliss's worst.
Absolutely.
But the last one was my worst. I absolutely loathed it. It was so bad. And this one was an animated version. Hate to pick on the cartoons, but this was very bad. It's 2009, starring Simon Callow as Scrooge, and Marley's ghost was none other than Nicolas Cage. Mm-hmm. And Nicolas Cage, he's been in stuff that's awesome and terrible. There's no in betweens with Cage.
Well, He phoned it in.
Yeah, he really did this time. And it was a cutesy. It was cutesy. They added a lot of social justice type stuff. Yeah, I mean, so Scrooge's old fiance that he broke up with, she comes back and she's like doing a soup kitchen or something like that. But the worst of all were these cutesy little mice. These cutesy little mice that appear in there. They have nothing to do with the story. They're just a distraction. And Scrooge himself has one of those as a pet. Now, can you imagine Scrooge having a pet?
No, they eat food.
Yeah, no. I mean, they're frivolity. It's ridiculous. Scrooge would never have a pet. He would have stepped on that mouse,
yes,
not fed him.
Yeah.
After he's reformed, okay, I can see it, but not before.
No, it didn't make any sense.
And it didn't make any sense. No. So there was a number of versions we didn't see, wish we could have found, were unable to find. There was a couple female Scrooges.
One with Susan Lucci.
One was Susan Lucci, if you remember her.
But
one was Cicely Tyson. And I think what drove this was around the era. Remember that gal from... She was a big corporate exec, and she said that rich people don't pay taxes, only little people.
Oh, yes.
Leona Hemsley.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think they were kind of based on her. And so, unfortunately, we couldn't find them, but maybe someday we will find them and watch them and review them too. One of the things we noticed about Christmas Carol is that we could find absolutely nothing that wasn't either British or American. Well, it could be some of them were Canadian, but we wouldn't have noticed because they just sound like us anyway. but I was hoping that at least we could find an Australian version.
Yes.
That would have been awesome, especially since Christmas happens in summer. Jamaican. I've always wanted a Jamaican version because every time I hear Marley's Ghost, I always think of Bob Marley.
Yes, that's hilarious.
So it would be great if it was a reggae version with Bob Marley's Ghost coming back, and
or Chinese or Japanese. Nothing.
Especially not Asian.
Curious.
They really don't get it. To Japanese, Scrooge is a hero because he's a good businessman. But to summarize, because we're going way too long here, of course. Summarize, we like to rate things in a system of 5 gears. So the couple on the top, Reginald Owen and Kelsey Grammer, give them 3, maybe 2.5 gears out of 5. On the bottom, the Stuart Brennan, where he's the whiskey guy, and the cartoon with Nicolas Cage, 1 gear. Terrible.
And that's generous.
Terrible. Yes, it should be like half a gear or 0 gears. Gearless. But anyway.
Gear free.
Right. So this has been the second episode of our Christmas Carol extravaganza. And this has been the Steampunk Desperado channel. And so thanks very much for sticking with us on this adventure that we've been on.
Yes.
And
my hat's still not
please like and subscribe. Go down to the bottom and give us any comments and any versions you may have seen that you want to hear us to hear about. For now, this is Vaughn Troy. I'm the Steampunk Desperado and
Arliss Holloway, Mrs. D.
And we'd like to say thanks for being at the Steampunk Desperado channel, where the past meets the future and the present is
extraordinary.
Merry Christmas.